check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ways to overcome your fear and achieve creative freedom. Fear comes in many varieties, but the worst one in terms of bringing a creative vision to life is fear of criticism or fear of judgment and what other people are gonna think. Oh my God, what will they think? Who cares? The world is now full of people who have silenced themselves and obliterated their own voices and opinions even. All off the fear of judgment or social shame, which can be scary. Being canceled, depending on how controversial you might be. I've been a bit controversial in the past, but that's what's great about me. Go be controversial. Take cancel culture as an example as it pertains to giving an opinion outside of the lines of the mainstream media's narrative. People avoid being canceled by silencing themselves, which has the effect of canceling themselves within. It's super ironic. Whereas people who boldly use their voice, they may get canceled by the mob for a time, but their voice is now liberated, which has the effect of making them impossible to actually cancel. You see how it's all upside down? In other words, when you're free to use your voice, you're in the conversation. If you've been too careful because you've been afraid, okay, nobody said mean things to you on the internet, but you're also sitting there silent and not able to speak on anything outside of what certain media organizations tell you is okay. Well, creativity in the neutral realm, now let's go outside of politics, in a neutral realm works in similar fashion. When you overcome fear, you give wings to your voice and your expression. And whether or not we as a collective like your work or not, we all can't help but respect the courage and perseverance it takes to bring it forward. So fear not, there is indeed nothing to fear but fear itself. And with that, here are 10 ways to overcome fear and bring your voice and vision forward. Tip number 1, practice mindfulness, or the power of now. Arrive at the here and now. Let go of regrets of the past. Be here now, which means bringing your attention to the present moment and letting go of judgment. By focusing on the here and the now, we can find a sense of calm and clarity that can help us navigate even the most daunting challenges. It's funny that it's called mindfulness because really what we are trying to do is get rid of the mind, overcoming the pitfalls of an overactive mind or overthinking and allowing ourselves to create from the freedom of the moment, from the here and the now. Genius is nothing more than reacting to the spirit of the moment, pulling the ideas from the sky and allowing them to blossom further, being the witness and the participant of a happening that you're not so much creating as facilitating and hosting, while at the same time engaging in a kind of spiritual war with fear. So we become a kind of conductor, a kind of dualistic master over opposing forces to which we are merely the witness. Look at creation happen. Tip 2, take a chance on yourself. Usually the biggest obstacle to creativity is our own self-doubt. So take a chance on yourself and try something new. Even if you're not sure you're ready, you never know what amazing things you might discover about yourself and your abilities. Get going and then get good. Mastery is acquired in the process, not in thinking of the process. It's in the doing. The doing, that's where mastery is gained. We have to be willing to be shockingly bad before we can be shockingly good. Tell your ego to stand down or trick the ego into thinking he's incredible for willing to let you be bad. You won't even be lying. Indeed, creativity is like getting on a pirate ship. Hello, matey, where's Captain Jack Sparrow? And setting off on a mad journey on a mad journey on an unknown ocean. And out on that ocean, we will discover surprising things. Treasures of insight will appear on the islands. We will discover that we had no idea that we're there before our journey began. We can only discover these treasures if we get on that pirate ship of creativity and set forth, whether Captain Jack Sparrow is there or not, mate. We can't possibly imagine where we will arrive unless we allow ourselves to take the voyage and accept the fact that seasickness or fear and naysayers are just waves on the ocean of our creative journey. Tip number 3, embrace your mistakes. I've made 15 mistakes in this video alone. Mistakes are a natural part of the creative process, so don't be afraid to make them. In fact, embracing our mistakes can lead to some of our most innovative work and exciting work. So go ahead and make those mistakes and watch as they lead us into breakthroughs. Or as Leonard Cohen says, there's a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. So-called mistakes are the cousin of experimentation, and experimentation is the twin brother of genius. We don't find the breakthroughs or the innovations without letting go of perfectionism and embracing our mistakes, or reacting from our mistakes into correcting them with more work. In other words, so-called mistakes are only fuel for more creativity and evidence of reaching for a vision. Learn to look at them as a sign that you're heading in the right direction. Number 4, surround yourself with inspiration. Surrounding yourself with inspiration can be a great way to overcome fear and boost your creativity, whether it's art, music, or simply being around people who inspire you. Finding inspiration can help you tap into your own creative flow. YouTube is an excellent resource and for education. It's an educational tool. When we have a direction and a goal, we can toggle the so-called algorithm of our own mind and guide it in the direction of our dream. We can input inspiring inspiration from the great minds of the ages and in essence mentor ourselves in a positive direction. We have the resource to keep ourselves inspired and our headspace moving in the direction of our dreams just by making the decision to do so and then doing just that. Consume content that inspires creativity over escape. I like to escape too, but sometimes we gotta push ourselves forward, coach. Not too many years ago, this was more difficult than it is now. The flip side of that coin is there are more distractions now. So these days, our personal content moderation in terms of consumption becomes an important skill set to master. Tip number 5, set boundaries. Setting boundaries is important for protecting your time and energy, which are both vital for your creative work. By setting limits on the demands of your time and energy, you can create the space you need to focus on your creative pursuits. Avoid dramas and toxic entanglements with people, with habits, with demonic energy urging you in the opposite direction of where you want to go. You deserve to go there, baby. Setting boundaries is an act of self-love, and depending on how we were raised and our self-esteem, this can be incredibly challenging for many of us. But we must view our peace of mind as a vital resource that's worth protecting. We have to know we deserve peace and space to make our dreams a reality. Healthy diet and regular exercise can help in this regard to become stronger and value our time more, because dramas are like externalized versions of fear playing out with another person, almost as if our own fear has created a living avatar of our own self-limiting beliefs and now has them in front of us, creating insanity and keeping our mind away from our vision, wasting our time. Dramas, though, spike adrenaline, and even though they're negative, they can be addictive. So, setting boundaries protects us from other people wasting our time, but it also protects ourselves from wasting our own time. And the reality is we are always our own culprit to some degree or another. So take responsibility, because in the end, the power and control of our boundaries are within us. Set those boundaries. Number 6, take breaks. Taking breaks is crucial for recharging and refueling your creativity, whether it's a short walk around the block or a longer vacation. Taking breaks can help you come back to your work with fresh perspectives and renewed energy. This is why the Lord gave us Sabbath, particularly when we are relentlessly on our mission. We need a weekly break to do nothing but check in with the Most High. If there's never a stopgap, burnout becomes inevitable, and it's far better to create scheduled breaks consciously and with purpose than to crash and burn and have them be created for us. I'm a fan of intense work methodology and the speed that comes along with it. I think in these days, particularly, speed is essential, and I don't mean the drug, I mean doing stuff fast and being hardcore about it. I even consider a rather relentless approach to be necessary these days, but within that structure, allowing Sunday to be a day of rest becomes even more important. Plus, when we cut ourselves off from whatever our creative task may be, we help facilitate a yearning to work again, and this acts as fuel towards returning to a relentless pace when we reconvene. And then it becomes sustainable over the long time frame it will take us to fulfill a vision. I make myself write every morning for about an hour first thing, but on Sunday, and on Saturday even, I let myself off the hook. If I happen to write on those days, it's because some inspiration won't surrender, or else I will jot it down as an idea to return to it on Monday. But I let go of my drive for 48 hours a week. Usually I work on Saturday anyway. This is actually a Saturday. But the spirit of it is different, more loose, as you can see, more unattached. On Sunday, I go to church and I really let go. I really do that. Tip number 7, try something new. Trying something new can be a great way to overcome fear and tap into your creativity, whether it's a new art form, a new hobby, or simply trying a new restaurant. Stepping outside your comfort zone, help yourself discover new possibilities and inspire your work. Playing with identity, allowing yourself to do something you criticized someone else for doing the day before, can be a great way to remove the shackles from a self-image that is riddled with limitation. Identity is a funny thing, because having a creative identity can be both a good and bad thing. But I love artists that subvert expectations of who they've been in the past. Imagine if the Beatles evolved from I Want to Hold Your Hand to Sgt. Pepper. Or Snoop Dogg, remember when he tried out reggae as another example? Perhaps that didn't garner as much success as Sgt. Pepper, but regardless of that, I respect the attempt. And trying something new means we won't be an expert. And there is an energy to the creativity of discovery that is important to check into, a kind of fresh spirit that I find follows us when we return to our comfort zones or areas of our expertise. This brings us to tip number 8, which is experiment with your process. Experimenting with your creative process can help you overcome fear and find new ways of working, whether it's trying a new tool, changing up your routine, or simply approaching your work from a different angle. Experimenting with your process can lead to exciting new ideas and breakthroughs. There's a narrative out there about how important new skill sets are to remain relevant these days. Whether it's an old singer-songwriter learning video creation, or figuring out a way to collaborate with AI via ChatGPT. I'm going to have to make a video on that next. That's an interesting tool. We'll get there. To keep up with the times, exploration into new realms is not only a good idea, but a vital one. Take my videos, for example. Some are just me chatting about ideas, but others have led to interesting musical revelations and inventions. I've turned some talks into long-form musical explorations that blur the lines of motivational discussion and experimental songwriting. Some of them even have banging beats. something new, something new being born from experimenting with the process. That's an example of it. Keeping creativity flowing and finding the pathway towards a breakthrough. Think of it as fun, and it will be. Like, this is fun. I don't know if it's good or not, but I'm having fun, and hopefully you are too. Not only for you, but for your audience too. All right, tip number 9. We're almost done. Thanks for hanging out. Seek feedback. And actually, like, comment, and subscribe. Give me your feedback on this. Tell me if you think I should tone it down a notch, if this one's annoying, or if you like this new energetic style. I didn't actually plan this. I just sort of went off because of the beat, I think. Anyway, seeking feedback can be a great way to overcome fear and improve our creative work. Whether it's from friends, colleagues, or mentors, getting feedback can help us see our work from a different perspective and identify areas for growth. No man is an island, and that goes double for artists. But here, we have to be careful and also review tip number 5 about setting boundaries. Feedback is important, but not if that means toxic feedback from a jealous source. Remember what Earl Nightingale says: success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, which means we are successful the minute we invest in our dream to take some measure of consistent action. As soon as we invest enough to take a measure of consistent action. In other words, in actual fact, we will be successful at what we are attempting long before material awards arrive, and probably long before we really even feel that way, which opens up the door to toxicity of envy before envy even makes sense. So be careful of who you get your feedback from and measure it according to the level you feel encouraged or discouraged after receiving it. People who aren't coming from a toxic space can give you constructive criticism without dulling your light. So find the ones who aren't afraid to criticize your work, but who can do so in an encouraging way. If you get feedback from someone who leaves you feeling defeated, take note of that. Recover your mojo and don't go back to the scene of that particular crime. Get feedback from people who encourage you. Tip number 10, we made it to the end, thank God. Let go of perfectionism. If I'd have to say it, this video is probably a little long, but that's perfectionism for you. And some of you are still here, so I'm just gonna let it go. Finally, let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism can be a major barrier to creativity. There you go, there's an example of it. So try to let go of the need to be perfect and embrace the beauty of imperfection. By letting go of perfectionism, we can free ourselves to take risks and try new things, which can lead to some of our best work. Perfectionism is simply fear dressing itself up as a positive quality. People soft brag about being perfectionists all the time. They confuse it with the illusion of caring, but it's only fear running a con. And the fact that it's deceptive means it's particularly dangerous. No work of art is ever finished. Works of art are only ever abandoned in some imperfect state. That's important to keep in mind and get used to the idea of letting go without every flaw being dealt with. I've uploaded videos with areas that bugged me, put out songs with the tambourine too loud or not loud enough, because there is a point in every work where we begin to like it less and less and question it more and more. And for me, rather than that being a sign of trashing it, it's a sign to let it go. It's a sign to share it. Because typically, when the love of what we're working on begins to fade, the work we do from that point on brings about diminishing returns until we actually hate it, hate ourselves, and throw it away. As a lifelong songwriter, I can't begin to tell you how many of my old songs I abandoned in this state that I later discovered and found to be great, with nothing at all wrong with them. Like years later, you listen to them and they're like, wait, this is great. Why was I afraid to put this out? It just proves at a certain point we lose perspective. We are too zeroed in and we can't see the forest for the trees. Plus, there's no work of genius out there that can't be looked at in a way to destroy its value. Take, for example, Marvin Gaye's genius seminal album, What's Going On. Apparently, Berry Gordy, the head of Motown, Marvin's label, had a real issue with it because it defied expectations. Marvin apparently had to fight to get it released, and it's an absolute wonder of an album, one of the greatest ever, easily. But the other day I listened to it differently. I listened to it imagining Berry Gordy's perspective, and I could begin to pick it apart in a critical way, which previously had seemed impossible to believe, to be honest. It was an interesting experiment, and it goes to show perfectionism is a killer. Works of genius are always vulnerable, which means they can always be picked apart. Seeing flaws in something doesn't diminish its value. On the contrary, the flaws may in fact be the source, or at least crucial to its value. So there you have it. There are 10 ways to eliminate fear. Thanks for sticking around so long. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us how you eliminate fear in the comments below, and share this if you think someone might dig it. And God bless you. Until we meet again.